Can all the refs report to the infield, please?
Once again, all officials to the infield, jam refs to the infield, please.
There they are.
All right, the officials, the regulators and the enforcers, and Jack Hart from Seattle. Everybody, the officials are getting together for safety checks now. We welcome you back to the bout, Derby fans.
There's a script here somewhere.
All right, Derby fans, I am still Old Greg. I am accompanied by a new announcer, but I have not changed. Are you ready for more hard-hitting action? I said, are you ready for more hard-hitting action? Thank you. Welcome back to Arizona's only live bank track roller derby here at the Hall of Dames.
I'm Sandra Slay O'Connor. We watched a great first bout, and now we're getting ready for part 2, featuring the return of our home teams, the Brutal Beauties versus the Coffin Draggers. Just a quick reminder, no whistling is allowed as it interrupts the game. Keep all hands, arms, feet, and everything else outside of the track and behind the yellow line for your safety.
All right, Derby fans, safety checks are done. We will get to team introductions here shortly once we work out some scoreboard issues, namely getting the scoreboard ready for the bout. Because the next things that happen is the introductions and then the bout starts, so we need a scoreboard. So just 1 second, bear with us, and then we'll get to the introductions for your two teams.
All right, first up on the track for introductions today are the Brutal Beauties. All right, skating for your Brutal Beauties tonight, number 4, Cherry Kiss. Number 44, Dirty Carrie. Number 00, Novocaine. Number 011, Skeletori. Number 12, Maximum Hoverdrive. Number 1225, Bob Villain. Number 1897, it's Impaler Swift. Number 2011, Colette Razorcat. Number 34, Pretty Hurt Machine. Number 55, Skid Vicious. 925, Evil Twin. 95, Lightning the Queen. And your co-captain for the night is 2323, Quiver Phoenix. And your captain, it's 2187, Princess Leia. And bench coaching tonight for the Brutal Beauties is All of You Die and Lady Macbeth.
Now to introduce those graveyard dames, it's the Coffin Draggers. Skating tonight for the Coffin Draggers, number 835, Scaren Yeager. Number 1029, Reckless Rose. Number 1312, Bones. Number 18, Embezzlement. Number 22, Mimi Mahler. Number 300, Dolly Spartan. Number 59, Raul Juke. Number 600, Thigh Voltage. Number 623, Hollywood. Number 666, Witchy Woman. Number 669, Nikki Badass. Number 772, I'll Dismember Ya. Number 1951, it's your co-captain, Strange. And number 616, your captain of the Coffin Draggers this evening, Antifa. Bench coaches tonight for the Coffin Draggers, Grantula and Bender B. Rodriguez. All right, Derby fans, I hope you're ready for the last Derby Dames action of the 2021-2022 season. Our first home team bout of the year and a aperitif and amuse-bouche of what is to come this fall when we return to a full schedule, as we've been teasing all night. Don't forget to pick up a season schedule as you leave tonight, and our season opener for 2022-2023 is Saturday, September 10th.
I didn't know it either. I gotta grab a schedule and put it on my calendar. I don't screw up and schedule any improv shows when I've got announcing duties.
All right, jamming for the Coffin Draggers first tonight is Nikki Badass.
Your first jammer for the Brutal Beauties is Princess Leia.
Leia almost makes it out on the low, is trying the high, but is stopped behind Mimi Mahler and Antifa.
Nikki Badass now trying to get along the outside. Pack springs to life as they head down the back straightaway. Nikki Badass able to get a mile on the scoping. Princess Leia out right behind her.
The pack speeding up in the straightaway. Brutal Beauties are trying to get in front, so Nikki Badass can't pick up any points. Oh. Nikki picks up a point and calls it off.
Nikki's blockers were holding one Brutal Beauty back at the back there. So the scoring is underway, 1-0. Up to the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers is Hollywood.
And for the Brutal Beauties, it's Skeletori. Tori almost sneaks out on the low, but gets stopped behind Reckless Rose and makes it out in turn one with Hollywood right behind her. They're both so fast. And she calls it off.
Tori gets it called off there. Hollywood had snuck down to the inside coming out of the turn and had the advantage.
Jamming for the first time tonight is Skarin Yeager. This is only Yeager's second jam ever.
Jamming for the Brutal Beauties is Evil Twin.
It's not only her second jam. She's done this a few times. Twin gets taken to the infield. Yeager's in the front. Trapped behind Skid Vicious.
Yeager out and clear and on a scoring attempt now. Yeager up to the pack, up to the high side. Runs into a couple of Brutal Beauties up there. Skid Vicious directing her down to the infield.
Yeager picked up a fair amount of points, is trapped in the front with Lightning the Queen and Skid Vicious. Tori still fighting against Mimi Mahler.
"15 seconds left on the jam clock. Neither jammer really able to get free there, and the jam comes to a close. And Yeager picks up 5 points, completed the scoring pass. So 6-0 Coffin Draggers in the very early going, and it's going to be Dolly Spartan for the Coffin Draggers.
And that's Cherry Kiss for the Brutal Beauties. Cherry gets knocked off to the infield by Reckless Rose, but manages to stay on the track and gets out of the pack. Dolly is fighting her way against Quiver Phoenix and Colette Razorcat.
Cherry Kiss gets an ooh from the crowd with a little bit of fancy footwork, finishing off a scoring pass. Dolly Spartan gets out right behind her. Cherry checks the distance and decides she doesn't want to try to race Dolly back to the pack and calls it off. 5 points for the Brutal Beauties puts them on the board.
Only 1 point in between the two teams, and it looks like maybe a power jam for the Brutal Beauties.
It looks like definitely a power jam for the Brutal Beauties. It is a small pack. Well, no, it is not a small pack. They're just really bunched together. There's 3 blockers for each side. Princess Leia, your captain, is out there to jam. Spread out pack. She's going to hit 2 blockers at the front of the pack here. Goes right up the gut, right down Main Street, gets through.
Nikki Badass is being kept in the back to make sure that those black blockers can't go too far ahead.
First scoring pass for Princess Leia, takes a block, takes a tumble to the infield.
Lightning the Queen running to the front to try to play some offense, and Sleia gets out for her scoring pass.
Sleia checks the clock on the scoreboard on the way by. 26 seconds left on the power jam, if you'd like to know. The skaters can't hear us on the track, so I'm just being playful. Princess Leia weaves her way through and dashes over the coping in the corner to finish off a nifty scoring pass. 8 seconds left on the clock.
Black trying to speed up the pack so Sleia can't get back to pick up some more points.
And the strategy pays off, as the Coffin Draggers do not surrender any further points on the power jam. 10 points, 2 scoring passes for Princess Leia, 10 points for the Brutal Beauties, and they spring in front.
And Strange taking the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
Jamming for the Brutal Beauties is Tori.
What does she go by now? Jesus.
Strange almost making it out. And, ooh, gets taken to the rail by Bob Villain.
Going all out for the defensive effort.
And Tori, in the meanwhile, has made it out and is coming around to score some points.
Strange springs free to try to put the pressure on to keep this to 1 scoring pass, as Tori running into some defenders, trying to weave her way through the pack.
Strange coming around trying to steal some points, but Tori calls it off before they can make it back to the pack.
I almost said to Tori Hanzo, and I had to stop myself. Yeah, that's what I did.
Skating for the Coffin Draggers is going to be Bones.
Near jammer for the Brutal Beauties is Skid Vicious. Both jammers patiently approach the pack, now springing into action. Skid finds opening along the rail, and she is out and clear.
Skid flying around the track. Bones is still caught behind Dirty Carry and Maximum Overdrive. Almost makes it out on the low, but taken to the infield by Novocaine.
Meanwhile, Skid gets routed off onto the infield by a blocker for the Coffin Draggers. That was Mimi Mahler. Skid finishes off the scoring pass and calls it off.
4 points for the Brutal Beauties. And jamming for the Coffin Draggers is going to be Reckless Rose.
Jamming for the Brutal Beauties is Skeletori.
Annihilation playing some great offense for Rose, and she gets out in turn 2.
And, oh, Tori just about got clear, but got tripped up just at the last second.
Tori back on her skates and coming around to get some points. Rose is making her scoring pass.
Yes.
Jamming for the Coffin Draggers is going to be Nikki Badass.
And that looks like Dirty Carry for the Brutal Beauties.
Nikki Badass is pushing past Novocaine and makes it out in the first turn.
Carey at the back of the pack trying to find an opening, now has a blocker kind of plunge through the pack trying to help her out. Nikki at the back of the pack starting a scoring pass.
Carey almost making it out, but gets taken off the track by Witchy Woman.
All right. Good hard-hitting action there in that jam.
And jamming for the first time tonight for the Coffin Draggers is Raul Juke. And yeah, jamming for the Brutal Beauties is Pretty Hurt Machine. And Hurt is getting trapped behind Alan Nilehacha and Holly Hood. Bob Villain trying to play some offense, and they're out of play in the front, so Hurt makes it out. Raul Juke is trapped behind a strong wall of Brutal Beauties. And Hurt's coming around to score some points. Hurt taking a rough hit from Holly Hood and gets taken to the infield. And Hurt can't get back on the track because she can't skate more than 20 feet on the infield. So she had to wait for the action to come to her. And she calls it off. Skating for the Coffin Draggers is Skarin Yeager. And jamming for the Brutal Beauties is Princess Leia.
3:56 to go here in the first quarter. Brutal Beauties have maintained a comfortable lead throughout the quarter here.
It seems like both teams are skating with some people in the penalty box.
Jaeger collides with Princess Leia after getting blocked into her, both of them trying to find their way through the pack. Jaeger finds an opening around the outside and dashes to the front.
Jaeger flying around the track, coming to pick up some points. Leia is trapped behind some coffin draggers in the front. Ooh, Aunt Tifa playing some great offense for Scare and Jaeger. Leia's almost out in the front, but comes off onto the infield. Princess Leia finally making out of the pack, but that's the end of the jam.
Five points for the Coffin Draggers there. Cuts the lead to 9 for the Brutal Beauties. At the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers is Reckless Rose. It's Skeletori out there for the Brutal Beauties, backing up and taking a different angle on things. Jam starts. Reckless Rose checks over her shoulder and takes off. Reckless Rose to the front of the pack, collides with the blocker, and that blocker out of play, and she is able to go on by. Reckless Rose, your lead jammer for the Coffin Draggers.
Skeletori is fighting her way through the pack still, getting held up, but finally makes it out in the straightaway. Reckless Rose getting taken off to the infield.
Now Skeletori catching up quickly. Reckless Rose down to the inside of the track and calls off the jam, running out of real estate.
Sure.
All right.
Jamming for the Coffin Draggers is Nikki Badass.
Evil Twin for the Brutal Beauties. Yes, Evil Twin. Ironically, her socks don't match.
They're both fighting their way through the pack. Nikki trying to get out on the high and makes it out in the turn.
Nikki Badass eating up the track, heading down the front straightaway. Evil Twin takes a big block from Witchy Woman. Nikki down to the inside. Evil Twin finds an opening and is able to get past the last blocker.
Nikki Badass taken to the infield, and it's the end of the jam.
It was embezzlement, tumbling into one of the referees. 3 more points for the Coffin Draggers. We set up to the next jam with 1 minute to go in the first quarter. That's Dolly Spartan for the Coffin Draggers.
And Cherry Kiss for the Brutal Beauties.
And Cherry Kiss
almost making it out in the turn, but gets taken to the infield by Hollywood. Meanwhile, Dolly Spartan gets out in turn 2. I see a toe stop in the infield. Someone might be skating down some equipment. Ooh, I think it's Cherry Kiss. Cherry Kiss is only one toe stop, but is fighting her way through the pack.
gets routed off again by Hollywood. That's no way to treat a relative.
Cherry Kiss only has one toe stop, so she's having some trouble getting back on the track. Cherry Kiss just playing some defense.
Quarter clock has expired, so this will do it for the first quarter as the jam clock is running down, and Dolly Spartan calls off the jam with 1 second left. Okay, that is going to take us to the quarter break. Let's wait for the final score to come up from the infield. And it's 8 points for the Coffin Draggers, and they spring in front, 28-26. Closed up that gap, and it's practically tied as we head into the second quarter. We'll step aside for 5 minutes.
Just an update, our 50-50 raffle is currently at $180. You only have a little bit longer to buy some more tickets, so now is your chance. Find someone with our 50-50 raffle tickets. And if you could get out your orangey red raffle tickets. And our next raffle winner is number 404719. 404719. Make some noise for some of our rookies who are coming with some merch. Ooh. I'm going to say our raffle ticket number one more time just in case you got distracted. Our winning raffle ticket is 404719. And now would be a good time to stop by the AZDD snack bar. Be sure to visit our snack bar to grab a cold beverage or snack. All proceeds go back to the league, and your support is greatly appreciated.
Hey, Derby fans in attendance, if you'd like to get some food, the barbecue truck is going to be departing the premises at 9:30, which is in half an hour. So it's a little late into the quarter break now, but if you've been waiting to get barbecue, they will be gone before halftime, probably. And it's really good, Sandy is telling me. It smelled good, as I said earlier. I just didn't have any because when old Greg eats food, old Greg hiccups, and that's bad for announcing. So, anyway, barbecue truck is leaving in 30 minutes, and if you would like to get barbecue, you might want to step outside during the second quarter and pick some up because it sounds fabulous. All right, Derby fans, we are about 37 seconds left until the resumption of action here at the Hall of Dames. Coffin Draggers shouting out to their lost yearling, Bones. Everybody's back on the bench. So we'll head to the second quarter with the score, Coffin Draggers 28, Brutal Beauties 26. It would be hard to top the first bout, but this bout's going to try. I, for one, would love to have two really close competitive bouts this evening. That's always good fun. All right, we are back to the action officially with that whistle from game executioner Ref Boy RD. To the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers is Skarin Yeager.
And jamming for the Brutal Beauties is Princess Leia. Leia running towards the pack. Almost makes it out. Oh, almost makes it out past Mimi Mahler, but gets taken to the infield. Yeager getting caught up. Ooh, behind Novocaine and Lightning the Queen. And Princess Leia gets out in turn 3.
Lightning the Queen had lined up that block for several seconds before executing it, and it was quite the block.
Yeager seems to just be stopping to play some defense. Ooh. And Sleia's coming around to get some points.
Black's still not out. Black's still not out.
Sleia tries to get past the front 2 blockers to pick up their points, but then calls it off. Jamming for the Coffin Draggers tonight is Hollywood.
Up to the jammer line for your Brutal Beauties is Skeletori. Beauties have jumped back in front 31-28 after picking up 5 points in that jam.
Oh, Tori very quickly gets out of the pack, but Hollywood is right behind her. Hollywood is a very fast skater, but you know what? So is Tori.
Tori checking over her shoulder, checks the distance.
The pink team trying to play some offense, get some points, but she has to call it off.
Black 0.
No points for the Coffin Draggers. 1 point for the Brutal Beauties. 1 hard-earned point. But hey, in a low-scoring battle like this, it's been a defensive struggle so far. So every point is valuable. Up to the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers is Nikki Badass.
And for the Brutal Beauties, it's Evil Twin. Ooh, Twin tries to make it out on the low, but is taken to the infield by a Witchy Woman. Nikki Badass makes it out of the pack and is coming around to score some points, but Twin gets out too. Nikki gets held up behind a strong pink wall, but calls it off before Evil Twin can come around and score any points.
1 point at the back of the pack there for Nikki Badass. Up to the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties, Cherry Kiss.
And jamming tonight for the Coffin Draggers is Dolly Spartan.
Correction, the score was 4 points for the Coffin Draggers in the previous jam. The score is tied. So don't take a drink of your squeeze it yet. We'll have a lead change in a moment.
And Cherry Kiss back on 2 toe stops is fighting at the back of the pack. And both jammers make it out of the pack in turn 2. Cherry Kiss just a little bit behind Dolly Spartan.
Dolly checking over her shoulder and keeps the inside closed, trying to stay low out of that corner. And it's not shaping up like Dolly was going to be able to get a point, so she calls it off. No points for either side.
Reckless Rose doing a nice job keeping some points on the infield for her team, but it just wasn't enough.
No points for either side, but that never means uninteresting. There was so much scheming going on during that jam between the 2 jammers.
Skating for the Coffin Draggers is going to be Skarin Yeager.
Skid Vicious for the Brutal Beauties as the whistle blows.
Skid Vicious making her way to the front, but being stopped by Mimi Mahler. Ooh, and she is out in turn 2. Skarin Yeager getting caught up behind Lightning the Queen. And then, almost by Novocaine. Skid trying to push those black blockers out of play so she can get their points, but she has to call it off before Yeager can come back around.
So we will check on the score, being flashed up now. It's 4 points. Brutal Beauties jump back in front 36-32. Brutal Beauties send Skeletori to the jammer line.
And Holly Hood for the Coffin Draggers. Beauties were able to pick up 4 points last time because those black blockers had gotten pushed out of play.
Tori tiptoeing along the rail and is able to find an opening and gets clear.
Tori gets out, but Holly Hood is almost out, gets stopped by Bob Villain.
Bob again with a defensive effort, but then Bob loses her balance, but now has some help.
Tori trying to get her hips back some blockers, but comes off onto the infield. Meanwhile, Holly Hood's gotten out and is coming around to put on the pressure.
Tori trying to find her way through the pack, got blockers helping her inside, outside, goes to the outside again and calls it off after she gets bumped into the rail. Brutal Beauties, who scored 3 points in that jam, send Dirty Carry to the jammer line.
And Nikki Badass is jamming for the Coffin Draggers.
We've got one blocker for the Brutal Beauties pulled down, leaving them with only 2. Full complement of blockers for the Coffin Draggers, so they have a 2-skater advantage here, and they are using it to their advantage.
Some great offense being played by Lightning McQueen so Dirty Carry can get out.
Nikki Badass now catching up to the pack on her first scoring pass attempt. Got her blockers running ahead of her like bowling balls. Trying to go by the outside, runs into the back of Princess Leia and gets a block from Lightning McQueen. Spinning off the track, being escorted to the infield by Princess Leia. Nikki Badass calls it off.
The Brutal Beauty's doing a wonderful job keeping that pack fast so that it makes it harder for Nikki Badass to score some points.
All right, 4 points for the Coffin Draggers. Score remains close. That is going to be Strange at the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
And Cherry Kiss for the Brutal Beauties. Looks like the Brutal Beauties again only have 2 blockers. Both blockers on the track last time seem to pick up some penalties. And Strange makes it out in turn 1.
Strange, your lead jammer for the Coffin Draggers. Cherry Kiss trying to find an opening, but those Coffin Draggers blockers recycling in front of her. Here comes Strange at the back of the pack, trying to catch up to those blockers. Weaves their way through the pack, but then takes a big block at the front of the pack from Pretty Hurt Machine, who is called out of play.
Pretty Hurt Machine having to let Strange go. The Black is doing a nice job keeping in front of Cherry Kiss, recycling even if she passes them. Cherry Kiss trying to stop Strange from getting any more points.
Cherry Kiss is pinned in behind Al, and I lost the sight of the other blocker, but gets clear of the pack as the clock is ready to expire, and Strange burns the last few seconds off the clock. 10 points for Strange and the Coffin Draggers. Coffin Draggers spring back in front by a few points. Nikki Badass at the jammer line.
And Princess Leia, the captain of the Beauties, up on the jammer line. Black is having to send a blocker down because they have someone in the penalty box.
Oh, we are going to have a timeout. Let's see what kind of timeout. Thank you, Chef Ref Boyardee. Timeout, Coffin Draggers. They are going to take their first team timeout of the first half. So we'll step aside from the action momentarily. Coffin Draggers going to talk this one over. Coffin Draggers 46, Brutal Beauties 39.
46.
Derby fans, don't forget the Arizona Derby Dames merch booth. You can get your favorite league and team merchandise. We've got t-shirts, tank tops, hats, koozies, patches, stickers, buttons. This is also where you can buy souvenir cups, which are good for a little while longer.
And you have 15 more minutes to try out our food truck. Remember, they are leaving at 9:30. Now might be your last chance to go get some food. The 50-50 raffle is also up to $200. I don't know about you, but I think it's a good time to get a ticket.
All right.
We have Princess Leia back on the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties.
Nikki Badass to the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers. 6:56 to go till halftime. Coffin Draggers in front by 7 points right now. But it's been a back and forth battle all the way throughout so far. Princess Leia took a stumble and slid on her knee for a moment. Nikki Badass trying to find an opening.
Princess Leia fighting up against Witchy Woman. Ooh, almost makes it out. Gets back on the track. Black is stuck behind Nova Kane. Nikki Badass is finally making it out in turn 1. But the pack is moving very quickly. It makes it hard for Leia to come around and get some points.
And Slaya calls it off.
Some great offense played by the Brutal Beauties.
Everyone was talking about this. Everyone was like, why is that what the Beautiful Beauties want? And Slay was like, I got drunk and thought it was funny.
That's cool.
All right, before the next jam begins, it was setting up to be a power jam, but we'll wait on that because it's going to be a challenge by the Brutal Beauties, so they're going to challenge that jammer penalty. So the officials will get together there in the back straightaway. I think we're still saying officials. Yeah, we are. Jack Hart's up here, so it's still officials. All right, we will be back to the action momentarily.
I would like to tell you about Lost Dutchman Tattoo. It's a tattoo shop specializing in various styles from realism to traditional. You can also customize your own tattoo. Walk-ins are accepted, and the shop is located at 4121 North 19th Ave on the east side of 19th Ave north of Indian School Road. I don't know about you, but I have a tattoo from Lost Dutchman Tattoo. Would highly recommend it.
All right, discussion over. That was pretty quick. We will have to see if that means overturned or not. Discussion with head referee Hoover Slam. And head referee Hoover Slam coming over to give us the verdict. Good. Challenge successful. Challenge successful. Penalty overturned. Brutal Beauties do not lose a challenge.
And I think they were challenging a jammer penalty, which is great. One power jam right now at this point in the game could mean a lot. And the Coffin Draggers send up Reckless Rose.
It's going to be Skeletori for the Brutal Beauties. Once again, are skating at, looks like full strength, as are the Coffin Draggers. And we've started.
Everyone taking a tumble in the first turn, but it seems like everyone's getting back up. Oh, nope. And I'm gonna take a quick second.
Action comes to a stop there. We had an injured skater along the front straightaway. Hollywood took a, well, let's see, yeah. Okay, we'll have to check on that. She was able to get to the bench on her own power, so if injured, she looks to be okay. Medical crew coming over to check on her now. So we've rolled into an official timeout while the medical crew checks on Hollywood on the Coffin Draggers bench. I'd like to let you know about one of our long-time sponsors, Copper Star Coffee. They're a locally owned coffee shop and cafe providing hand-blended drinks and award-winning baked goods. Visit them on the southwest corner of 7th Avenue in Heatherbrae in the deep of the Melrose District for delicious coffee, tea, muffins, and their incredible homemade bagels every day. Okay, referees back to their posts. We are just about ready to get back to the action. Coming up to the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers is going to be Scarin Yeager.
And it's Evil Twin for the Brutal Beauties. And Tifa playing some great offense for Yeager, but Yeager getting caught up behind Skid Vicious. Evil Twin almost done fighting through the pack, but gets held up by Mimi Mahler. Ooh, and takes a hard fall in the turn, or in the straightaway. And Twin almost makes it out, but gets taken to the infield again by Mimi Mahler.
Still a defensive struggle halfway through the jam clock. Evil Twin spun off onto the infield again. Mimi Mahler's making it her personal duty to not let Evil Twin pass.
If Mimi doesn't want you to get out, usually you do not get out, in my personal experience.
12 seconds left on the jam clock.
Neither jammer has made it out. And Black's out, but I have the feeling that people are just trying not to pick up any penalties.
So no points for either side. We will reconvene next with Reckless Rose on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
And Pretty Hurt Machine on the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties.
There we go. Anticipation. Both jammers fighting at the back of the pack. There goes Princess Pretty Hurt Machine.
Yep.
Wow.
Gets out in the first turn. It's her specialty. And she's coming around to get some points. Reckless Rose is caught up behind Bob Villain and Colette Razorcat. And Hurt flies through the pack, picking up a full scoring pass. 5 points, hopefully.
Black's still not out.
And she's coming around for more.
Reckless
Rose is just playing some defense now. And Hurt makes it out for another scoring pass.
Reckless Rose tries to use that disturbance in the pack to get through, but that defense stalwart at the front of the pack for the Coffin, for the Brutal Beauties. However, the Brutal Beauties jet blockers are out of play. Hurt now trying to get a few more points before the clock expires. All right, it's a Brutal Beauties timeout while we wait for the score to be reported up from the infield. 14-point jam for the Brutal Beauties. Brutal Beauties spring back in front again, 57-46. It's been back and forth. Once again, it's a team timeout. 2:59 to go until halftime.
All right, there are about 5 more minutes to get some barbecue from our food truck. Never mind, apparently they're gonna be here till 10. So,
all right,
if you get hungry, you might have another chance.
Overtime barbecue, definitely a chance to get some barbecue at halftime, so awesome.
Don't quote us on that, just in case they're gone. If I were you, I would just go now. Nikki Badass taking the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
And that's Princess Leia for the Brutal Beauties.
Nikki Badass hopping out past her team on the high, but getting pinned to the rail by Lightning the Queen. But they're out of play in the front and have to let her go.
Saleya now trying to dash to the corner, gets a block, Gets another block, but able to shake it off and gets out of the pack with Nikki closing in on her first scoring pass.
Ooh, some great offense played by Embezzlement, and Nikki gets out on the high.
Block 4.
Nikki gets 4 points for the Coffin Draggers.
Up to the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers is Dolly Spartan.
And for the Brutal Beauties, it's Skeletori.
I just realized that her jersey is wrong.
That's probably why I was trying to call
I
her
was,
that.
I was like looking at it and I was like, wow, it doesn't say Skeletori on it.
Tumble and a couple of blockers go down for the Coffin Draggers. There's Tori to the front of the pack trying to get past the Draggers pivot.
And Alan Alhecha is really holding her up. Bob Villain comes by to play some offense, but it doesn't work. Dolly Spartan makes it out lead, but Tori is right behind her. Dolly is telling her team to go get her some points. Or mostly just to get out of the back so Tori can't get their points.
And Dolly waited till the moment Slaya caught up to the pack and called off the jam.
And Nikki Badass is on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers. And Evil Twin, Evil Twin is on the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties.
All right, under a minute to go till halftime as this jam begins.
Evil Twin gets out in turn 1. She's your lead jammer, and she is flying around that track, but Nikki is out about a third of a track behind her. Some great offense played by Princess Leia.
All right, Brutal Beauties in front now 60-50. 10-point lead for the Beauties as we close in on the last jam before halftime. It's going to be Reckless Rose for the Coffin Draggers. Cherry Kiss up to the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties.
And, both jammers pretty much making it out of the pack at the same time.
Rose almost emerged in front, but lost her balance, windmilling her arms, and Cherry Kiss blasted by her to take lead jammer for the Beauties.
Both jammers falling at almost the exact same time.
All right. 2 points for the Coffin Draggers, 1 point for the Beauties. Points for both teams to close out the scoring in the second quarter, and we're going to step aside for halftime. So, as the teams switch benches, your score right now, Brutal Beauties 61, Coffin Draggers 52. It's been a close bout throughout. We will be back in 15 minutes.
And everyone get out your red raffle tickets. And our next winning raffle ticket is 404547. And one more time, that is 404547. Make some noise for some of our rookie skaters who have some merch. If you really want the merch, you gotta make some noise. Come on, guys.
Also, in addition, the snack bar will be closing at the end of the third quarter. So if you'd like to pick up a refreshment or two, make your way down there during the action here in the third quarter.
Like, I'm managing from a distance. Like, I'm very much about hands off.
All right, the first jammer for the Brutal Beauties in the third quarter is going to be Skeletori.
Jamming for the Coffin Draggers, Nikki Badass. Ready to get underway here in the third quarter. 61-52, Brutal Beauties in front for the moment. And there's a big collision at the back of the pack. 3 skaters down, including Nikki Badass, but she gets up, dashes to the front, weaves her way around the blocker, and she is out and clear.
The pack is really speeding up as Skeletori fights in the front against a 3-wall of black blockers. Bob Villain trying to play some offense. And Nikki's calling it off. We have Princess Leia on the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties.
Your Draggers jammer is Strange, your co-captain.
You're stopping for a photo moment. And Strange tries to follow Princess Leia out behind her team. And they both get caught up in a very tight pack. But Strange manages to get out in turn 2 with Leia right behind them. Leia steals the lead. And we've got a very intense jammer race.
Strange settled in behind Slaya and was right behind her approaching the pack, so Slaya calls it off. No points for either side. Jamming for the Brutal Beauties is Cherry Kiss.
And jamming for the first time tonight is Embezzlement. I'm excited. Embezzlement almost getting out of the pack. And Cherry Kiss is working her way to the front, only has to get out past Witchy Woman. But that's easier said than done. And follows Cherry Kiss out of the pack. And Cherry calls it off after playing some jammer on jammer offense.
Cherry Kiss put a block into Embezzlement and tried to knock her off her skates, but Embezzlement was up to the task, so Cherry had to call it off. I hear somebody shouting Power D.
Embezzlement picking up a jammer penalty. It looks like a back block. Do we not have the thing?
Yeah, we are having it now. It's going to be... Wait, wrong jammer down.
Wrong jammer came off. Maybe? Yes, the wrong jammer came off. It is
Okay, no, we're good.
a power jam for the Brutal Beauties.
Evil Twin. Okay, we're going to have a stoppage in play here. The referees call a stop. We'll reset that jam.
There are too many pink skaters on that track. There are 5 blockers up there. That's not how that works.
All right, the referees signal for a jam reset, which looks remarkably like the signal for a home run. Ref Boyardee is going to put a stop to the action. Team timeout, Brutal Beauties. So, on deck, power jam for the Brutal Beauties, jam reset. Brutal Beauties team timeout to discuss their power jam strategy. It's been a low-scoring affair so far, 61-56, Beauties in front. Every point has been fought for by both teams, so definitely a chance to talk over their strategy here.
Remember, you have just a few minutes left to get something from the snack bar or our food truck. Now would also be a great time to pick up a raffle ticket.
All right. Officials returning to their posts. We are ready to wait. Bender B. Rodriguez coming forward to ask a question of head referee Hoover Slam. All right. Confirming with the whiteboard, there is that jammer penalty on the Coffin Draggers. So we're ready to reset. Now at the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties is Evil Twin, once again. Just 2 blockers out there for the Brutal Beauties, though, with the full complement of 4 blockers for the Coffin Draggers.
Actually,
Excuse me.
3 blockers.
3 blockers.
Brutal Beauties.
Novocaine was hiding in front of Reckless Rose.
Evil Twin coming up and hitting Reckless Rose and Hollywood and getting trapped behind Alan I'll Hate Ya.
And Evil Twin escorted off onto the infield by Reckless Rose. Able to dart by her, though. Runs full headlong into the last blocker and gets pinned into the rail by Hollywood.
And Black is out of play in the front, so Twin can get on in front of them and just go. There are about 25 seconds left in this power jam. Some great offense played by Skid Vicious. Ooh, and Twin. But Alan I'll Hate Ya also came off the track, so I think she may be good. Who knows? She got on behind her anyway, but then they were out of play.
A lot of weird things. What's happening?
All right. After all that, it was a 5-point power jam, 1 completed scoring pass for Evil Twin, 66-56. Brutal Beauties in front, but it's going to be a power jam, a penalty assessed to Evil Twin. Nikki Badass at the jammer line all by herself for the Coffin Draggers power jam. 10:50 left in the third quarter. Coffin Draggers down 10 right now as the jam gets underway.
Nikki getting caught up behind Pretty Hurt Machine and Colette Razorcat. But then they have to let her go. They are out of play. Quiver Phoenix getting up in the front with her friends. And Black is out of play in the back. They have to come up with the other team, but Nikki gets out anyway.
30 seconds left on the power jam clock. Nikki Badass now coming around for her second scoring pass. The pack almost at a standstill on the back straightaway.
Some great offense played by Hollywood.
And Nikki's able to get past the last blocker. Nikki's got 12 seconds left on the power jam clock.
The Coffin Draggers are trying to keep some points in the back.
Now the Brutal Beauties try to take off running. Nikki Badass weaves her way through the pack and finishes off the last scoring pass. That's going to put the Coffin Draggers back in front. We'll check on the official score from the infield, but it sure looked like 15. It is 15. 15-point power jam for Nikki Badass. Coffin Draggers bounce back in front, 71-66. Dolly Spartan to the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
And Princess Leia on the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties. Princess Leia, ooh, making it out in turn 1, takes a knee but gets back up quickly. Dolly Spartan is right behind her.
Saleha goes a little wide coming out of the far turn. Dolly was able to get along the inside, and Saleha calls it off after giving up a little bit of ground to Dolly there on the front straightaway. No points for either side. Coffin Draggers are going to skin Scary Nieger to the jammer line.
And Pretty Hurt Machine for the Brutal Beauties.
Brief jam ref conference over. Now we're ready for the jam. There we go.
Pretty Hurt Machine cutting low then high. is pushing those last two jammers, and she makes it out in turn two. Skarin Yeager is still caught up behind a pink wall in the back. Ooh, but makes it out.
Hurt now catching up to the pack, takes advantage of a staggered pack and sweeps her way through without much interference and calls off the jam after picking up her 4 points. We are going to have a timeout. It's an official timeout. OTO. Officials are going to take a second to talk over the action there in that jam. Yep, we've got a moment here. We've got head ref Hoover Slam talking to the bench coaches for both sides. Your score right now couldn't be any closer unless it was tied. 71-70, Coffin Draggers in front with 7:54 to go in the third quarter. We're in the midst of an official timeout. We'd like to remind you about Siphon Draw Apothecary Shop. It's an all-natural, non-toxic, handcrafted skincare product line made by our very own Daldi de los Muertos. We want to shout out this sponsor for providing us with hand sanitizer for our entire season, keeping us safe with clean hands. Visit siphondraw.com for their incredible products, or visit them at the historic Goldfield Ghost Town just off Arizona 88.
I was just told that the 50-50 raffle is still only at $200. Please buy a raffle ticket to help support our minor assaults. Come on.
Okay, back to the action after the timeout. 7:54 in the third quarter, left in the third quarter. Dirty carry to the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties.
And strange for the Coffin Draggers. Oh, Carrie sneaking out on the high, but gets stopped by Al. And, ooh, almost makes it off, but they both come off the track. But Carrie gets back on behind her and runs away. And Strange is picking up some speed and makes it out in turn two. Carrie's coming around for some points.
Blockers fighting there in the back straightaway. Two Beauties blockers ended up down on the ground on the infield. They're trying to clear some space.
Carrie gets back on the track and calls it off. Manages to pick up 3 points. The Brutal Beauties have taken back the lead. Very unenthusiastic about Brutal Beauties being in the lead. Thank you.
Jamming for the Coffin Draggers, Nikki Badass.
And Skeletori for the Brutal Beauties. I know it's getting late, but we still have to be excited. The Brutal Beauties are doing a great job holding Nikki Badass on the high.
Cherry Kiss giving it all up for a block. They both end up on the infield. Nikki gets back up behind the blockers. At the front of the pack, meanwhile.
That pack is split, meaning everyone's got to get back together.
Tori now getting some help from Bob at the front of the pack, trying to clear up some space, and the blocker's out of play, and Tori's able to shake free as your lead jammer. 19 seconds left here on the jam clock. Big spread out pack, Nikki getting back up at the back of the pack. Tori trying to take advantage, but a defensive wall unites in front of her, and she gets pushed off to the infield with 5 seconds left on the jam clock.
Tori trying to pick up all the points she can, and we are out of time.
We'll check the score on that jam. Tori gets 4 points out of the possible 5 on that pass. Bob Villan coming off the track, I saw showing great frustration with being assessed a penalty, but there was a penalty assessed to the jammer for the Coffin Draggers, which means a power jam for the Brutal Beauties. Princess Leia, your captain, is at the jammer line.
Have a lot of shuffling happening in the blocker box while everyone gets situated.
We are going to have an official timeout. Oh no, challenge, that's what he was waving. All right, Coffin Draggers are going to challenge that jammer penalty. So we will have a challenge. Officials getting together in the back straightaway. Hoover Slam will talk to the bench coaches, and we'll take a pause.
Remember to visit the Arizona Derby Dames merch booth to get your favorite league and team merchandise. We have t-shirts, tank tops, hats, koozies, as well as stickers and buttons for your favorite team. And it's about 10 o'clock, so I think our food truck might be about to leave. I still see them out there, though, so if you want to, take a chance, you might be able to go get some food.
Don't forget, Derby fans, just a little while longer to buy your raffle tickets for the evening. One of our raffle prizes remaining is that fantastic $300 gift certificate to Lost. No. Never mind. There's other prizes. They're also good. Sorry. My apologies. Of course, you can also get cash raffle tickets if you like that cold hard cash. That's still accruing as we go.
Oh, this isn't the quarter break. This isn't the quarter break. Shalom. Yeah, not quite.
I know how roller derby works, I promise.
We're making up for our very fast challenge in the first quarter.
All right, I see nods of acknowledgement among the officials, and the pack breaks up. We'll get an update really quick on the penalty that was being challenged and whether it was upheld or not. Lady Macbeth and Bender B. Rodriguez. Unsuccessful challenge, penalty upheld. The Coffin Draggers have utilized their second half challenge for the evening and cannot challenge a further penalty.
Which means this will be a power jam.
Brutal Beauties have had plenty of time to formulate a power jam offensive strategy.
So have the Coffin Draggers, so let's see what happens.
All right, back to the action. Quick game reset. One blocker for the Brutal Beauties in the penalty box. One jammer for the Coffin Draggers in the penalty box. Coffin Draggers have a full complement of 4 blockers, and your jammer is going to be Princess Leia, oh captain, my captain of the Brutal Beauties.
A great opportunity for the Brutal Beauties to extend their lead. Leia almost making it out on the low, but being stopped by Dolly Spartan, who gets taken in the infield by Novocaine. Leia getting caught up in a tight pack.
Rather moderately moving pack into the straightaway, and then a bunch of action. Slaya gets bumped off to the infield, and those Coffin Draggers blockers are all together at the front of the pack. Now she gets some help trying to break up those linked arms. Clock running, 18 seconds left on the power jam. They're holding her up so far. Knocked off onto the infield again.
Only 10 seconds left in the jam. At this point, Slay is just trying not to get any penalties. Can't call it off because there is no lead jammer. A 0-point power jam.
Excellent defensive effort from the Coffin Draggers, who are going to send Scary and the Jaeger back to the jammer line.
And Cherry Kiss for the Brutal Beauties. Witchy Woman coming down to the low to try to play some offense, but then Witchy goes up to the high to stop Cherry. Lots of a lot of tumbling happening, but Cherry Kiss gets out as lead.
Jaeger now get some help from Witchy Woman to get clear at the front of the pack. Cherry Kiss takes advantage of a very staggered pack to get through quickly to the front blockers.
Antifa and Witchy Woman trying to keep that pack fast, but Cherry Kiss calls it off.
We'll do after this jam.
Jamming for the Coffin Draggers. That's strange.
And maybe jamming for the Brutal Beauties is Evil Twin. Yes, Evil Twin is jamming for the Brutal Beauties. And Twin getting out in turn one, but strange. Ooh, almost makes it out right behind her, but gets reabsorbed into the pack. Taken to the low by Lightning the Queen. And Evil Twin flies through the pack. Strange slowing down to play some defense. "19 seconds left in this jam. A big tumble in turn one. Twin getting held on the high by Thigh Voltage, and then behind Owl. And then, taken to the infield by Hollyhood. And that's the jam. And it looks like Pretty Hurt Machine out on the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties, and she is all on her own, but never mind, because they're all leaving.
We've got an official timeout to talk over some of the goings on in that last jam. Brutal Beauties have extended a small lead here. With 1:26 to go in the third quarter, Beauties in front by 17, 88-71. But as we saw in the first bout, no lead is safe. Plus, we've got 16 minutes of action to go, too, so a lot of time left in this bout as the officials continue discussing with that rolling whistle. We're back to the action. Still a power jam for the Brutal Beauties. Going to try to build on their lead here with Pretty Hurt Machine at the jammer line.
Coffin Draggers trying to make a strong wall in the front. But the Brutal Beauties are trying to get their way into their wall. And Pretty Hurt Machine gets out in turn two. And Hurt's coming around to score some points. gets slowed down by Witchy, Embezzlement, and Mimi Mahler. And Black's out of play in the front, so Hurt gets around. She has 20 seconds left to try to score some more points.
Back playing keep away. Coffin Dragger's able to control the pace of play here in the Power Jam.
And the jam clock ran out of time.
Black 0.
5-point Power Jam for the Brutal Beauties. We'll set up for the last jam of the third quarter. It's going to be Dolly Spartan for the Coffin Draggers.
And Princess Leia for the Brutal Beauties. And Dolly Spartan gets out in turn 2. She's your lead jammer. Princess Leia is making her way to the front of the pack, but gets taken to the infield by Hollywood. Lightning the Queen taking a break to play some offense.
Dolly finishes off a scoring pass. Princess Leia escorted off to the infield one more time and is now going to play some jammer defense.
Princess
Lining.
Leia is taking the low, trying to make a nice strong 5-wall.
Dolly's able to fight through it even with the extra blocker.
But she only has 6 more seconds, so she calls it off.
All right, that brings us to the end of the third quarter. Coffin Draggers are going to put a couple points on the board here. Let's wait and check for the official score from the infield. 10. Full 2 scoring passes for Dolly Spartan. 10 points for the Coffin Draggers. Closes the Broodies. I got almost all the way through the bout without saying Broodies. Oh my gosh. The Brutal Beauties are in front 93 to 81, in front by 12 points as we head into the fourth quarter.
I almost did it.
I've already done it.
Make some noise for some of our rookies. Come on, make some noise.
All right.
And it's time to get out your red/orange raffle tickets. And our winning red raffle ticket is 404545. One more time, that is 404545. If you are the lucky winner of our raffle, come over to the raffle table under the team signs, or just come over here by where the announcers are and we'll point you in the right direction. This is your last chance to purchase some 50/50 raffle tickets. Our 50/50 raffle has gone up a whole $10 since the last time I talked to you. So the more tickets you buy, the more money you might win. This is your last chance.
All right, Derby fans, we're ready to get back to the action here with the start of the fourth quarter. Who's ready to close this thing out in style, huh? One person. One person's ready to close the thing out in style. Thank you, thank you.
We only have 15 more minutes of roller derby. We need 15 more minutes of enthusiasm.
All right, up to the jammer line, Nikki Badass for the Coffin Draggers.
And Skeletori for the Brutal Beauties. We only have 2 blockers out there for the Coffin Draggers. And so Skeletori gets out in turn 1.
Nikki racing by some blockers to clear the pack as well. She'll try to put the pressure on here.
And Tori's coming up. Gets some points and calls it off.
Four points for the Brutal Beauties. Pretty standard jam. Up to the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers, Hollywood.
And Princess Leia for the Brutal Beauties. Leia quickly running on the high and makes it out. Hollywood almost stopped her, but Hollywood got caught up by Novocaine. Ooh, and Hollywood just makes it out past Nova.
Nova trying a flying block and a big grin on her face there. She got outfoxed by Hollywood on that block, but was able to hold her up long enough to allow her team's jammer to get by and pick up 4 points. 101-81, Beauties in front. That's going to be Cherry Kiss for the Beauties.
And Nikki Badass for the Coffin Draggers. Coffin Draggers looking to close the gap between the 2 teams. Only 20 points away. Some bodies hitting the floor in the first straightaway. Cherry Kiss coming out of the pack. And Nikki almost making it out. Nikki Badass almost making it out, but gets caught up behind Bob Villain in Pretty Hurt Machine. And manages to fly out on the low. Cherry Kiss coming around for a scoring pass. Picks up some points and calls it off.
All right, we'll check out the scoring there from that powerful jam. Not a power jam, just a powerful jam. 9 points for the Beauties.
And we have Evil Twin out on the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties.
Your jammer for the Coffin Draggers is Strange. Also, they're jamming. Just kidding.
And Twin pushing on a strong wall of black blockers. Almost makes it out, but gets taken to the infield. And Strange makes it out in turn 2, but Evil Twin is right behind them. They're both trying to pick up some speed. Black was trying to keep Princess Leia in the back as a point.
Strange really swinging those arms, trying to get every bit of speed she can, but gets bumped off onto the infield, trying to get back up on the track and calls it off.
I think
as
Strange
Evil
made
Twin.
it just in time, but we had a tough fall.
All right, there were several skaters down there. It looks like Novocaine is up and okay. Hollywood being helped back to the bench for the Coffin Draggers. So it's an official timeout here as the medical crew continues to look at Hollywood on the Coffin Draggers bench. It's going to be a double jammer down situation. Penalties on both jammers, which means nobody loses a jammer. 1 point for both sides there at the end of that giant collision at the end of that jam.
Can't have roller derby without a jammer, so when both jammers get penalties, it's like no jammers get penalties. They sit as blockers instead.
Yeah, jams with no jammers are boring. There's no points. I mean, I like blocking as much as the next guy, but
Supposed to be ketchup.
all right, we are ready to get back to the action. Official timeout has concluded.
Both teams down a blocker, and Mimi Mahler is up on the jammer line, making a face because she knows I'm going to give her grief, but she's a great jammer.
Skeletori jamming for the Brutal Beauties.
Mimi going slow up to the pack, trying to play some jammer on jammer defense, I guess. And makes it past Cherry Kiss. And out on the low. And Mimi likes to say she can't jam. But Tori's out, only about half a track behind her. Pink's trying to keep some point, or Black's trying to keep some points in the back. Oh! Sorry, I yelled. I got really excited.
Wow.
Mimi gets past everyone and calls off some points.
Mimi gets by the last blocker, got spun around, and managed to stab her hands at her hips before falling off the track and called the jam off. Excellent acrobatic calling off of the jam, Mimi Mahler. At the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties is number .44, Dirty Carrie.
And for the Coffin Draggers is Reckless Rose. Sorry, I just really like roller derby. I don't know what to tell you. Carrie sneaking her way through the black wall. Almost making it out, but has to get past Strange and Dolly Spartan. And Rose makes it out on the low and the straightaway.
Clearing the way, Princess Leia and Lightning McQueen open a door for Dirty Carrie to get out right behind Rose. Rose took a little stumble in the back straightaway, and Dirty Carrie's bearing down on her now. Rose trying to catch the pack, and it's not going to happen. Rose has to call it off.
The Coffin Draggers had some blockers in the back. By the time Rose got some points, Carrie would have gotten some points too.
9:30 to go in regulation. Up to the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers, Scary Yeager.
And for the Brutal Beauties, it's Pretty Hurt Machine.
Brutal Beauties in front by 25 right now. Plenty of time left in the bout, however.
Hurt is fighting against two last black blockers in the front, but it looks like they might be out of play. They have to let her go. Jaeger almost making it out, but gets stopped by Bob Villain and then Cherry Kiss. And Hurt makes it through for a scoring pass. Jaeger getting told to just block, but then Jaeger keeps going.
Now Jaeger able to get out of the pack. Hurt finishing off another scoring pass, weaves her way past the last blocker and calls it off. 9 points for the Brutal Beauties.
Jamming for the first time tonight is Thigh Voltage.
And jamming for the Brutal Beauties, it's Skid Vicious.
Thigh Voltage trying to make it out on the hype. And Al Annihilation playing some great offense. But Skid Vicious gets out in turn one. Skid's coming around to score some points. Thigh Voltage almost gets out, but gets taken to the infield by Lightning. And Skid makes it through for a scoring pass.
Volt now against Lightning, the queen at the front of the pack. Gets ushered down to the infield one more time, trying to bully her way past.
Thigh Voltage finally making out of the pack with 13 seconds left. Skid Vicious, ooh, trying to maybe get Thigh Voltage's point, but takes a rough fall and calls it off.
Took a big tumble right on her right bicep there with a big smile on her face, calls it off. And that was the shortest jammer pursuit ever. We are going to have a stoppage in play. It's a team timeout by the Coffin Draggers. They have used their final timeout of the evening. So we'll step aside from the action here momentarily. Brutal Beauties put 9 more points on the board. They're building on that lead, trying to stay in front as we close down to the end of regulation. 6:47 to go. Brutal Beauties 129, Coffin Draggers 86.
Now may be your last chance to pick something up from the AZDD merch booth. Unfortunately, our snack bar is closed, but I still see the food truck. I've also been told that our 50-50 raffle is now at $240, so just saying, now would be a great time to buy some tickets. You've only got a few minutes left. It looks like a power jam for the Coffin Draggers.
Yes, indeed. Nikki Badass out there all by herself. A couple of yards behind the jammer line. Power jam for the Coffin Draggers. A chance for them to cut into the Brutal Beauties lead here.
Brutal Beauties are also down a blocker. This might be a great chance for the Coffin Draggers to get some points. Ooh, Nikki Badass being taken to the infield by Bob Villain, but hops back on and sneaks past. She's coming around for some points. And she just skates through the pack, barely touched. Phoenix is going back to get with her teammate. They're trying to wall up. Ooh, and Phoenix slows Nikki down a little.
Friendly fire, Nikki bowling over one of her own blockers on that scoring pass with 22 seconds left on the jam clock.
Nikki falls for a second, waits to get back up. Has 7 more seconds to try to score some points. And calls it off. A 15-point power jam for the Coffin Draggers, closing that gap.
Lopped a bunch of points off the lead there. Brutal Beauties still in front by 28 with 5.5 to go. To the jammer line for the first time for the Brutal Beauties this evening is Maximum Overdrive.
Jamming against Max is Dolly Spartan. Both teams are down a blocker, and Dolly just skates on through. No one even touches her. She's coming around, gaining some speed. Rose is getting ready to play some offense and defense.
Dolly weaves her way through the pack in the back straightaway. Max now up for the Brutal Beauties, trying to fight her way through those blockers at the front and put a stop to the scoring. Gets pinned to the rail. Meanwhile, skaters down. Dolly trying to get by. 4 skaters down. Staggered out pack. Dolly runs into Lightning. But she's out of play, and Dolly gets the free pass. 15 seconds left on the jam clock. Max out of the pack for the Brutal Beauties.
Max can at least stop Dolly from scoring her point. At this point, every single point matters. Dolly has 3 seconds to pick up as many points as she can, and the jam clock runs out.
So not a power jam, but like one. Dolly Spartan able to pull off a couple of scoring passes, excuse me. 2.5 to be exact. 12 points for Dolly Spartan. 129-113. Brutal Beauty still in front, but it's going to be a power jam for the Coffin Draggers and Nikki Badass. Maximum Overdrive takes a park in the penalty box, and it's a power jam for the Draggers, who are now down only 16.
Mimi Mahler trying to play some offense, but the Brutal Beauties managed to recycle and get back together. Antifa and Embezzlement are keeping some people in the back, but Nikki gets taken to the infield. Nikki almost makes it out. Oh, but those blockers are out of play and they gotta let her go. She's got a little more than 30 seconds to come around and score some points.
Good defensive effort individually by the Brutal Beauties there to burn half the time off the power jam clock, as Nikki Badass now trying to thread her way through the pack, runs out of real estate. Now dealing with the solid 3-wall at the front of the pack again. Quarter Phoenix keeping her pinned to the inside coping, and Nikki Badass calls it off.
Brutal Beauty's doing a nice job playing some defense. Maybe killing a little bit of the momentum that the Coffin Draggers were building up. But we have Reckless Rose out on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
Princess Leia for the Brutal Beauties. The Beauties lead is 12 with 2.5 minutes to go in regulation.
It's anyone's game at this point. Rose almost making it out on the high. Ooh, but Lightning the Queen takes a fall, and Coffin Draggers get lead. Princess Leia is out, about a third of a track behind her, but Princess Leia is very fast.
Rose slides into the back wall there, anchored by Lightning the Queen and Novocaine.
If you do not know, you score points in roller derby by getting your hips past the other person, so sometimes going in backwards is the best opportunity.
So no points for either side, 150 to go and counting in regulation.
And Mimi Mahler back on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
Skeletori for the Brutal Beauties.
Mimi just had so much success last time, they put her up again.
Mimi is sharing some trash talk with her former minor assaults teammate Cherry Kiss.
Mimi stopping Tori. I feel like we've done this before. Trying to get out on the low past Cherry, but Cherry stops her this time. And Mimi dives to the low. Witchy playing some great offense against Bob Villain.
Bunch of blocking going out the back of the pack. Tori's found herself in the infield a couple of times. Now she gets to the front of the pack and gets by Witchy.
Mimi coming in for her scoring pass, and it looks like the Brutal Beauties were a little distracted, and she flies right on through.
Mimi finishes her scoring pass and immediately calls off the jam, trying to save as much clock as possible. 4 points for the Coffin Draggers. The lead for the Brutal Beauties is 8. Princess Leia to the jammer line for the Brutal Beauties.
And Strange is on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers. We've got a little less than a minute left in this game, and that is enough time for the Coffin Draggers to pull into the lead. Strange taking a fall right in the middle of the blocker box.
Hollywood knocks Princess Leia down to the infield. Leia, though, at the front of the pack. Strange has some ground to make up.
The pack is split, which means everyone has to try to get back together.
20 seconds left in regulation, 40 seconds left on the jam clock.
This may be our last jam of the game, especially if no one can get out.
10 seconds left in regulation, 30 seconds left on the jam clock. The defensive struggle continues.
Ooh, and the Brutal Beauties pass the panty. Lightning the Queen is now the jammer.
What a time for our first star pass of the night. Lightning the Queen taking over as jammer for the Beauties with 9 seconds left on the jam clock.
Lightning manages to get that helmet cover on her head.
Lightning is going to try to get some insurance point here in case of a penalty jam. Does so as the clock expires. We'll check the score on that. We promised you good action in the second bout, and we definitely brought it to you once again. 3 points for the Beauties. We'll check on the penalty situation and see if another jam is forthcoming.
It looks like currently on the whiteboard, only the black team has a penalty. If that remains the case.
Officials checking with each other. Head ref Hoover Slam backing up. Wait for it. There we go!
And the Brutal Beauties have won.
Your final score, 132-121. Brutal Beauties able to put some insurance points on the board in the last jam and make it a final margin of 11 points. But a back and forth battle throughout the bout.
Yeah, make some noise for both of our teams tonight. Don't leave yet because we have to announce our 50-50 raffle winner. If you have purchased a pink 50-50 raffle ticket, now would be the time to get it out. All right, our winner of the 50-50 raffle, which is now up to $240, is the pink raffle ticket 189945. One more time, that is 189945.